Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom in which we speak with small cap executives right after important news put up by small cap companies. With us today, I'm happy to have again Sean Dollinger. He's President and CEO of Namaste Technologies. The company trades under the stock symbol N on the CSE, that's N for Namaste. For our friends in the US on the OTCQB under NXTTF, and for our friends in Germany on Frankfurt under M5BQ. Now we're happy to have Sean again because he's been on here several times, but that's because he's always putting out big important press releases. For those of you who are new to the story, Namaste is a fast-growing, revenue-generating company that's leading the way in the massive trend, global trend towards vaping. More than just lip service, the company today is the largest e-commerce B2C vaporizer company. Sales in October 2017 were $1.3 million. That's a 174% increase over last year. Revenue for the full year next August is expected to come in at about $25 million. They just started vaporizer sales through Aurora Cannabis. Over 200 vaporizers sold in the first 3 days, and they're growing based on today's press release through a major acquisition in Brazil. Sean, welcome to the show.
Hey, George, thanks for having me on again, and it's always great seeing you.
Well, we're having you on because you seem to be the #1 generator of incredible news, not press releases. There are a lot of guys that put out that, but you're putting out substantive material news. Today, you put out one press release, but I found two very important elements to that. First, let's talk about this acquisition. You've acquired Brazil's largest vape retailer. They're going to add about 10,000 customers and $1 million in revenue to your top line. But you're talking in the press release about potential to really expand that. Tell us about what kind of plans you've got to expand the Brazilian enterprise.
George, as we saw on Australian vaporizers that we acquired back in March, using our technology, we've been able to increase conversions by 50%, use our techniques to continue to drive new traffic to the website, work with Namaste, which was the #2 in Brazil, and the new site, which is #1. Being able to control those two sites in the domain gives us a lot of power. And we're excited to see what comes in the future with what we've built over there.
Now, this is obviously one Australian acquisition. You could say, hey, it was just an opportunist acquisition. You make it. But now you've acquired in Australia. You've acquired in Brazil. What are your global plans for domination? Because knowing you and the way you guys are running e-commerce, I've got to think this is the beginning of a long-term trend.
George, the big thing for us, which I think I mentioned a couple shows ago, is we're not out there making massive acquisitions for dollars or shares or liquidating our shareholders or diluting them, etc. It's to be accretive. Right now, it's really important to us to keep working on operations, bring down costs, and keep the infrastructure that we've developed, and make sure that sales keep generating and keep growing as quickly as they do. Brazil, with the population over there, with the landscape of cannabis changing in Brazil, keep in mind the big thing for us is the data, right? We've talked about it in the past. Forget about having a profitable platform that generates money on its own, but on top of that, the value someday in the future where cannabis is widely accepted in these countries, and Namaste has the greatest database that's ever existed. That's what we're all about in expanding.
All right, so that's a perfect segue, and again, you'd think that we almost scripted it this way, but that's a perfect segue into part 2 of the press release, and it seemed a little packed away there at the end, but I thought this was really big, and I'm going to read it here. Namaste MD, that's the Apple smartphone app, has been submitted to Apple for approval, and you're waiting on that. But this is no simple app. I'm going to look at it. It's revolutionary. You called it revolutionary telemedicine app because it creates a seamless connection between the patient, the doctors, and the patient's records. To me, that's not just revolutionary on the medical marijuana side, but that's revolutionary in complete telemedicine, as you're calling it. How are you guys able to pull that off, and how do you feel about your approval prospects at Apple?
We're called Namaste Technologies for a reason, right? We develop technology, we see how it's implemented into the space. We've chosen the vaporizer, medical marijuana field. And basically, that application was all built in-house by our CTO and his team. Chad Agade's done an amazing job with that product. He started on it just 3 months ago, completely from scratch. We invested, I'm not sure if you ever saw the press release on the company called authenticating.com, that basically we made a small investment in their company, but we got exclusive rights in Canada on their facial recognition piece, as well as their portal and connecting to the Canadian records so that we could match up and make sure that if George is using his ID, one, is it really George behind the screen?
Right.
And number two, to make sure that ID was a legal ID on the database, the Canadian database. So this piece of software takes care of all of those aspects. So the hardest thing in the space is being able to advertise, as we know. It's a challenge. You know, you're not allowed advertising for our industry. Well, Namaste, with the amount of traffic, which right now we're currently getting over 1,000 unique visits a day between namastevapes.ca and everyonedoesit.ca, just between those two sites alone, if we could take the patients coming there and talk to them through the website and bring them through the whole process and then put them into the LP CanMart, that's where it comes full cycle.
And you know, for everyone at home, you're saying if we can, that's just Sean talk because how conservative he is. But at the end of the day, you know you can because you've already accomplished this. And we'll move on to CanMart in a second. But you've already accomplished this through your global leading e-commerce site and being able to increase conversion in Australia and other places. So you're pretty confident that you'll be able to accomplish that same thing with the app. I have to assume that you guys are using the same secret sauce, the same kind of theories and technology in order to achieve that.
I'm glad you pointed it out, George. 100%. The software is going to work. It's unbelievable. I've tried it. We could set up, pilot tests for whoever wants to test it out. It's ready to go. It's amazing. And the thing that's so exciting about all of this for us is we're talking hypothetically, 1,000 customers, how many actually convert into clicking the button, bringing them through the process and converting them into patients. Once we have that number, and don't forget, George, Canada's our 6th largest market in the world presently.
Yeah, you have 5 bigger ones waiting for you.
So if we see that the numbers convert at the rate that we think they're going to convert at, all of a sudden analysts will be able to really take the data, the actual numbers, factual numbers, and crunch the numbers and see what kind of return Namaste could have here in the next few months.
And I'm going to hop over CanMart, come back because we're having this conversation. I've always said that, all CEOs of all companies, I don't care if it's Oracle or Namaste Technologies, your job is to be optimistic and hope that technology is going to work. But so what I've always said in the small cap space is third-party validation is very important. And you've already got Aurora Cannabis as proof almost of concept. You've partnered with Aurora Cannabis in order to be able to sell vaporizers through their site. And you had massive success in your first 3 days. So clearly, not only does the technology work in your eyes and not just on, as we see it on the income statement, but you're getting great third-party validation, are you not? Because you've got your competitors reaching out to you to co-opetition by working together and using your e-commerce technology.
Absolutely. And you bring up Aurora. largest LP, or definitely in the top couple largest LPs in the world in the space. So it's amazing that they believed in Namaste. But to validate what you said, even this deal that we announced today in Brazil, the owner of the site was down here in Florida with Corey and I just a little over a month ago. And that wasn't even part of our discussion. It was more of the fulfillment side of things, what we could do together. He saw what the Namaste culture was all about, which I've been talking to you about for over a year. You got to meet our team on one of your press releases,
right, last Christmas.
One of the reviews. And I've said it, but it's almost impossible to explain it. But he saw what Namaste was about, and he said, Sean, I don't want to be against you guys or lose market share against you. I want to become part of Namaste. He did it for free. He gave us his URL for absolutely no cost, $1 million plus revenue that we believe we can make 30% net profit immediately. In turn, he gets the fulfillment agreement in Brazil, which we never wanted to have a presence in Brazil anyways, due to the logistics, et cetera. The laws are completely different in Brazil. He's an expert at that. So he said, Sean, you guys are amazing at customer service. You're amazing at getting the newest products out there. Let me just take care of fulfilling. That's all I want to do, and I want to be part of Namaste. And we're getting calls, George, nonstop like this. I
got to say, look, I'm a tech guy, and I see that, and I've said it before, and maybe it was premature months back, or maybe people were watching me saying, hey, George, it might be premature, but you're fast becoming the Amazon of the cannabis, vaporizer, medical cannabis space. Is it now more appropriate for me to say that you've got vendors in the real world who are saying, man, I'm not going to build this kind of infrastructure. I'm not going to be able to put this kind of e-commerce technology in place, and I don't want to have to fight Amazon / insert Namaste now. So when I hear things like the Brazilian operator was there less than a month ago, saw what you had, and said, I got to be a part of these guys. Have you reached that matrix point? Have you reached that point, that turning point now where you're becoming the Amazon of the space?
The amazing thing is, before I was calling people, I was calling to put the Australian Vaporizer deal together. Hey, Sean, call us back in a month. Call us back in 2 months. Show us how things come together.
Naturally.
All of a sudden here, people are gravitating to us, understanding. So when you say Amazon, I look at us as a niche market that's amazing. So we've talked about Chewy.com, which was an amazing dog food specialty store. We talked about diapers.com, and they had something different than Amazon. So when people compare us to Amazon, I love that we're compared to, top 3 in the world. But I look at us as something even better. And it might sound crazy, I know, but being a specialty store, being able to help customers, not just be, oh, you're having a problem with your vaporizer, send it in, here's an RMA. We don't care because we're going to put it back on the vendor or the manufacturer. That's not what we're about. We're not about becoming the biggest, taking away everybody's business from them. We want to do more. We want to be the one-stop shop that not only do you come to your hardware for, but if somebody doesn't know what strain of cannabis works well in the vaporizer, we want to be openly talking to people about that experience, having genuine conversations, staying a size that we're able to offer service like that, but at the same time grow into a multi-billion-dollar company in the next little bit. And
I got to tell you, even the name Namaste has a global appeal. The name Amazon has a global appeal. And by the way, when you said you're even better, and you naturally had to throw in the conditioner that it's hard to believe it could be even better. Let's not forget, for everyone at home, every iteration of the web has brought a better and better company to the table, a better and better system, a better and better supply logistics using the web and all the entire network. So when Sean says that, maybe if he said it a year ago, you might want to take a real close look and question that. But given the growth of the company, you're going to be at $25 million in revenue. As of now, your run rate, forget about if more things happen. But it seems like you've become the unquestionable leader in this space. So for everyone at home, I take that as his weight in gold. Let's move on to CanMart.
Sorry, George, just one more thing, just on that point that you just said. On the revenue portion, I found this really interesting, and I don't know if you know this or your listeners and your viewers know this, but when marijuana is harvested, it actually counts as sales on their books. So when it's harvested, if this year they did all their harvesting and there was $20 million in street value of the marijuana, and let's pretend next year they don't grow a single plant and they make $20 million in sales, it was counted from the time they harvested it.
Right.
All of our sales are actual sales taking place. And if you crunch those numbers closely, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but go look at those numbers and you might see Namaste in the top 2 in revenue in the entire public world of our space.
And that doesn't even take into account the growth that's coming over the next 3-6 months.
I'm talking about right now.
Right. No, that's and thanks for adding that, because I actually didn't know that.
A lot of people don't.
Your sales are out the door. They're in the box, out the door. You've received the money. The client's got the product, and you've counted it.
Like we've proved what we do works. Growing and being able to just clip it and that counts as a sale is much different than what we've taken the steps to prove so far.
Yeah, thanks for educating us on that. That's an amazing piece of information. Even I didn't know that, so I appreciate that. So with that, let's head over to CanMart. Where are you at with CanMart, and how do things like the Namaste MD app give you an even bigger advantage on the CanMart side?
So amazing news. Today we actually started construction over at CanMart. So all the plans are done, the application's in. We had a conversation with Health Canada yesterday. Things are going unbelievable on the application process. So we're really, really excited about that. We're looking hopefully to have the renovations complete by the end of this year, first week of January, depending on the holiday season. We're still working on supply agreements. We're still working on a bunch of really fun things to come with the license over there that has really never been seen before, because it's a sales only license. And just quick education on that, so people understand, when an LP gets their license, a licensed producer, they're applying for the growing side and the sales side. Namaste will actually be considered an LP. We're still an LP with this license. We've just applied for the sales portion because we're interested in copying exactly what we've done on the hardware side of things, make use of all the customer data that we have, and offer them the best products from the best companies across Canada.
So you've already got a supply agreement with Aphria.
Absolutely, correct. And we don't want you, as a customer, one day, maybe you're in the mood for canopy marijuana, maybe the next day you're in the mood for Aurora, maybe Aphria. One-stop shop. Why not simplify everything? Why do you need to run and drive yourself crazy trying to get different products from different companies? Namaste will be your one-stop shop. CanMart will. So that's what's really, really exciting about that piece. But
go ahead.
No, but to simplify all of that, the piece in the middle is that Namaste MD.
That's what I was going to ask. That's exactly what I was interrupting you for. And how big of a lead does that give you over everybody else in the space? Because while you've got Namaste MD as an app, and I remember when pizza apps first came out, all these pizza locations, restaurant brought it up, said, oh, man, that's unnecessary. I just didn't believe it 3-4 years ago. I thought, you just call and order pizza. What do I need an app for? But amazingly, the amount of sales, you look at the data from Domino's, all these big companies, the amount of sales that come through apps, I guess because it's so convenient. It's right there. You got your menu, you got everything. You don't have to speak to anybody. The payments made, deliveries made. How big of a lead will, and we got to remind everyone, it hasn't been approved yet by the Apple Store, but how big of a lead would Namaste MD give you over everybody else in this space in terms of just supply logistics, just George, the customer, having to do it one way through the Namaste MD app versus the longer route through other potential providers?
George, if we look at the situation we were in a few months ago before we had CanMart, we really needed to partner up with an LP because we had the data, which let's pretend is the key, and then they had the gate. They had the product. How do you go about connecting those two together? And that's what Namaste MD is all about. Now that we have the gate, we have the key, which is all the data. Namaste MD now takes the data, brings them through the process to be able to use that key in this gate. Nobody has been able to do this. And the big thing about all of that is if you go create a website today, what traffic are you going to have? Let's say if you're listening to this interview and you're like, this is genius. This is awesome. Nobody has the AI. Nobody's got the machine learning. Sure, maybe one company does. But then we have the website as well. Then we have the source to all the products. Then we have the source to all the inventory. All these things have come full circle. 2 years ago, I'd be lying to you if I told you right now this is what I've envisioned 2 years ago. But I'll tell you how it's come together is absolutely amazing. And we could not ask to be in a better position than we are right now on November 14th, 2017. If everything comes together as quickly as we think it can, 18,000 patients, 19,000 patients that we're seeing being reported for these companies that have $1 billion in valuations, these numbers are nothing to us. We'll be able to accumulate that amount of patients in 6 months' time, if it would even take that long just in Canada. Don't forget, if this works in Canada, George, which it's not if, it will work. When it works in Canada, in Australia presently, we have over 125,000 names in our database. Forget about the 4,000.
Hold my head for a second. Unbelievable.
Forget about the 4,000 people visiting our website every day, or the 200 customers' data that we're collecting every single day in Australia. We already have an insane amount of names over there, and amazing.
Just waiting for that next connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and for everybody at home, again, I'm going to say, if this is the first time you're watching Sean on Agoracom, then you've got to get to Agoracom and watch the previous interviews, because it would be easy if you're watching Sean for the first time to say, man, this is just big talk. Of course, that's what small cap CEOs say. That's the nature. We got to acknowledge that. But the fact of the matter is that, I don't know, this is our 10th interview in more than a year with Sean, and everything he said has not only happened, but has happened beyond what he's told us it would be. Hence why the confidence right now in you is just screaming through. Let's end it with this question. You've gone from zero in revenue a couple of years back to you're going to do $25 million right now, based on what you've got on the table today and what everyone knows. You're going to do $25 million. How would things look? Where's Namaste going to be 2 years from now? How do you plan to get there?
Conservatively, George, I don't even want to factor in deals like we announced today, where we get this deal out of left field, $1 million deal for free, top line revenue, it's not going to, I can't predict things like that, right? But if we
by the way, just to be clear, I'm not looking to peg you on a number, because you wouldn't be able to do that anyways. But, given the factor of growth you've had 2 years ago to today,
well, I don't even want to factor in Namaste MD in my projection I'm going to give you. I don't even want to factor in Namaste MD and CanMart. None of that. Just off what we have right now for the next 5 years, I would think it's safe to take a double every single year off of the revenue, and that kind of puts us where we're at, just off the system we have in place now. Now put in recurring revenue on patients through CanMart, you start running those numbers. I don't even know those numbers yet, but that's
market acceptance, general market growth, as more and more people become comfortable when the legislation makes it all legal. You're not even factoring, are you even factoring things like Australia growth? No. And you got 5 other, yeah.
I'm just factoring our hardware that we've proven up to this point. I believe we could double it every year, year over year for the next 5 years, which we've proven so far. This is the start of year 3 in February. Will be our second complete year as a publicly traded company. Start looking at our numbers, and you'll see that so far we've been able to achieve a better than a double each year.
Well, and I got to tell you, that's why I've said it on this show, and sometimes it's hard to say, but I've said it here where I've said that Namaste is one of my top 3 long-term holds. Guys, everyone at home, technology is taking over the world. We know where the cannabis industry is going. You know the legislation is going, and you've got Sean's team pretty much consolidating these things around the world via e-commerce sites that are outperforming anything we've ever seen in terms of data analytics and AI and conversions. And to some of you, that may be language you don't understand, but suffice to say, here's Sean's store on the right. It's attracting the right number of people, and when the people are walking in, they're buying. And here's George's store on the left, and not that many people are walking in, and when they're walking in, they're not buying all that much, right? Let me break it down to that kind of layman's explanation. I've been watching this, and that's why I keep saying, look, Namaste is a client. It's fully released out there when they renew our contracts. We're in the shares for services program and all that. And we're holding almost all of our stock. We don't have any plans to sell this stock for the next couple of years, just because we want to give Sean and his team a chance. They've already proven it. And the hardest part for me, Sean, is going from 0 to 25 million. That's unbelievably difficult. Once you get to 20, people always say it's hard. Your first million is the hardest. So you got your 25th, right? To me, when a company is able to achieve that, you have to give them an opportunity to show you what else they can do in the next 12 months, and then reassess, and then the next 12 months, and then reassess, because you never know. A business can always falter. I don't see that right now, but it can. But to me, you've got to give the company a chance to breathe and grow, and that's what I'm doing. And Sean, hats off to you and your entire team, because I know and you've always said it, it's not just you, but you guys are hitting things out of the park. That's why we love having you back in Agoracom. We don't talk fluff. We don't talk, you've added George to the advisory board kind of news. This is real stuff that people at home need to listen to, because we may be watching the next, Amazon-esque. It's not going to be as big as Amazon ever, because Amazon does everything from, flowers to running shoes and tennis rackets. But within the industry, I think we're watching the potential for the next and better Amazon. So Sean, thanks. Congratulations, and thanks for being here. I just want to throw that in because it's important just to get my take on it.
Anytime, George. Appreciate every time you have me on, and thanks, man.
You've been watching Sean Dollinger. He's President CEO of Namaste Technologies. The company trades under the stock symbol N on the CSE. That's N for Namaste. For our friends in the US, on the OTCQB under NXTTF. And for our friends in Germany, on Frankfurt under M5BQ. Get yourself to NamasteTechnologies.com if you're discovering the company for the first time, or you've been watching it, watching it grow. Get to NamasteTechnologies.com. Do your due diligence. That's your job now. We've taken you as far as we can take you. We've given you all the information we can give you. Also, get to Agoracom. Look at all the news that's there. Look at all the interviews that we've done. Watch them. Grab a coffee. Grab a thermos. Sit down for an hour and string the last 5 or 6 interviews together. And I think you're going to find some incredible information. Sean, thanks for joining us today. Everyone at home, thanks for being with us. Have a fantastic day. See you next time.